One way to really gauge how badly things are going for Donald Trump these days is by tuning into Fox News and witnessing the levels of craziness hitting new, unprecedented highs. Now, let's be real. There's always a base level of absurdity you can expect from Fox. They've been the home of unhinged conspiracy theories, blatant propaganda, and misinformation for years. But occasionally, they don't just turn up the dial to 11. They crank it up to infinity. Last night was one of those nights. We're talking pure desperation as the entire network struggles to keep up with the endless whirlpool of scandals, indictments, and disasters surrounding Trump. It's become more than just political commentary. It's a full-blown, sophisticated propaganda machine that's distorting reality for millions of Americans every day. And we need to break it all down because ignoring it would be ignoring the biggest threat to democracy in modern American history. Fox News propaganda machine in overdrive, ignorance or intentional misinformation. Here's the question I get asked a lot. How is this election so close? With everything we know about Trump, that's a legitimate question. With the countless indictments, the lies, the grift, the chaos, how could anyone possibly still be supporting him? The answer is shockingly simple. Not everyone knows what we know. Millions of Americans are trapped in an echo chamber where they're fed a steady diet of lies, 24 hours a day, courtesy of Fox News. This isn't just a media network. It's the most sophisticated, well-funded propaganda operation we've ever seen in history. And it works. That's the dangerous reality. People tuned into Fox aren't just misinformed, they're brainwashed. They're led to believe in an alternate universe where Trump is the savior and everyone else, especially Democrats, people of color, the LGBTQ+ community, and anyone who doesn't fit into their rigid worldview, are the villains. Last night on Fox, things reached a new low when Laura Ingraham, Jesse Waters, and a rogues gallery of right-wing grifters continued their onslaught of lies, with a special focus on FEMA and DI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. We're going to dive into the specifics, but first, let's not kid ourselves. This is dangerous stuff. Laura Ingraham's DI obsession, turning a hurricane into a culture war. So, what was the focus of last night's rage-fueled misinformation campaign? DI, that's right. Diversity, equity, and inclusion. Fox News loves to use DI as a boogeyman, a code word for everything they think is wrong with America. If you ask people like Laura Ingraham, the biggest threat to the country isn't hurricanes or natural disasters, it's diversity. Ingraham's rant started by targeting FEMA, the very agency tasked with saving lives during emergencies. According to her, FEMA is so focused on DI that it's failing at its actual mission. You know the script. It's the same old Fox playbook of blaming anything that goes wrong on people who aren't straight, white, and male. The insinuation is clear. If only FEMA weren't so obsessed with diversity, they'd be better at responding to natural disasters. That's not just a lie, it's a dangerous lie. Let's break down exactly what Ingraham said. The government neglect and incompetence that we've witnessed over the past few weeks is a foreshadowing of things to come if Kamala Harris gets to sit in the Oval Office. FEMA is staffed with woke radicals, and DI actually threatens the safety and security of our people. Stop right there. She's claiming that diversity is a threat to safety and security. This is beyond absurd. It's offensive, it's racist, and it's designed to stoke fear in Fox News' predominantly older, white audience. Ingraham continued by asking how many resources were being diverted from FEMA's actual mission to focus on DI initiatives. Let me translate that for you. She's implying that FEMA workers aren't doing their jobs because they're too busy attending diversity workshops. If you're laughing at the sheer stupidity of that claim, you're not alone. But there's a darker side to this. It feeds directly into the toxic narrative that Fox News has been pushing for years. that diversity is a threat to real Americans. Fox News hypocrisy on DI, the glass house they live in. What's even more laughable is that while Ingram ranted about DEI, Fox News' own business website proudly advertises its diversity and inclusion program. Yes, that's right. The very network that pretends to hate diversity has a whole section dedicated to it for their own hiring purposes. The hypocrisy couldn't be more obvious. But does that stop them from spreading these lies? Of course not. In fact, Ingram doubled down, suggesting that FEMA's staffing shortages were due to their focus on diversity. She essentially argued that the reason there aren't enough workers at FEMA is because they're hiring too many diverse people. As Hurricane Milton approaches Florida, FEMA is facing a severe staffing shortage. But at least those few workers will be diverse, she sneered. Do you see the game being played here? It's a gross attempt to blame any government failure on diversity, as if diversity is the problem. The truth, of course, is that FEMA, like many government agencies, is struggling because Republicans refuse to fund them properly. They slash budgets, they cut corners, and then they turn around and blame the very people who are out there saving lives. It's the same old trick, and unfortunately, it works on a lot of people who don't bother to fact-check. The real heroes, FEMA workers doing the impossible. Let's take a moment to acknowledge the reality on the ground. FEMA workers are doing an incredible job. These are some of the hardest working people in the country, rising to the occasion in times of national crisis. Even Republican officials in hurricane-affected states have gone on the record praising FEMA's response. But does that stop Laura Ingram from smearing them? Absolutely not. Ingram then took aim at FEMA's leadership, claiming that the agency's focus wasn't on helping real Americans, but rather those who fit into their left-wing narrative. This kind of rhetoric is not just false, it's dangerous. It divides Americans at a time when we should be coming together. Jesse Watters, Fox News low-rent Tucker Carlson. Next up on Fox's crazy train was Jesse Watters. If you're not familiar, Watters has been promoted to fill the Tucker Carlson-shaped void in Fox's programming. And boy, does he try hard to live up to that standard of insanity. Last night, Watters' show veered into truly bizarre territory when he and Stephen Miller, yes, that's Stephen Miller, had a conversation about manliness. According to Watters, he's been receiving texts from women saying that Miller is some sort of sexual matador. Yes, you read that right. They're now discussing Stephen Miller's sex appeal on national television. And Miller, ever the opportunist, used the opportunity to give advice to young men. If you're a young man looking to impress ladies, the best thing you can do is wear your Trump support on your sleeve. Show that you are a real man. Show that you are not a beta. That's the level of discourse we're dealing with here. And if you just threw up in your mouth a little, I apologize. But this is what Fox News has become. A toxic, cartoonish echo chamber where people like Stephen Miller are celebrated as alphas, and Trump support is treated like a badge of honor in the dating world. Alina Habba's AI-fueled lies, spreading fake news about floating babies. But the real low point of the night came when Alina Habba appeared on Fox. Habba, one of Trump's most sycophantic defenders, decided to spread a completely false and vile rumor about babies floating in floodwaters. She claimed that Vice President Kamala Harris was too busy campaigning to care about the disaster and that there were babies floating in the water. This claim is, of course, completely baseless, but the damage was done. Fox News viewers heard that, and many of them will believe it. It's the same tactic we've seen time and time again from Trump and his allies. Spread a lie, repeat it enough times, and people will start to believe it. In this case, the lie was so outrageous that even Fox News had to correct her. They stepped in and clarified that Habba was referencing a fake AI-generated image that had been circulating online. But that didn't stop Habba from continuing to spread the lie. nor did it stop Fox from allowing her back on the air. Fox's hypocritical coverage of Trump, defending the indefensible. Throughout the night, the Fox News propaganda machine continued to churn, with hosts like Judge Jeanine Pirro and Melania Trump making absurd claims about Trump's presidency. Melania, in particular, appeared on Fox's The Five, where the most hard-hitting question she faced was about Trump's sleeping habits and what he wears to bed. Does he ever sleep, they asked. What's his bedtime routine? What we're seeing here isn't just softball interviews. It's a complete refusal to hold Trump and his family accountable for the corruption, chaos, and criminality of his presidency. Instead of asking about Trump's multiple indictments or his role in inciting an insurrection, Fox focuses on his nighttime routine. It's laughable if it weren't so pathetic. Lara Trump's napkin delusions. Everyone loves Donald. Lara Trump also made an appearance, continuing to push her delusional narrative about Trump's popularity. According to Lara, every time she gets on a plane, she's handed notes from people on napkins saying how excited they are to vote for Trump. Now, let's be real. The only people flying on planes with Lara Trump are other Trump supporters. But that didn't stop her from claiming that Trump support is much bigger than the polls suggest. It's the same tactic we've seen from Trump himself. When the polls are bad, they're fake. When the polls are good, they're the real ones. Fox News plays right along, refusing to acknowledge the reality that Trump is in serious trouble in 2024. They continue to create a bubble for their viewers where Trump is always the hero, and anyone who criticizes him is the villain. At the end of the day, what we witnessed last night on Fox News was a masterclass in disinformation, gaslighting, and hypocrisy. Laura Ingraham, Jesse Waters, Alina Habba, and the entire Trump family are using Fox to push a toxic, false narrative designed to manipulate millions of Americans. It's not just about ratings. It's about shaping public opinion in a way that keeps Trump in power and keeps the MAGA base riled up. We at Midas Touch Network will continue to expose these lies because the stakes are too high. If we don't fight back against the Fox News propaganda machine, we risk losing the very foundation of our democracy. So, the next time someone asks how this election is so close, remind them of one thing. Millions of Americans are living in an alternate universe created by Fox News. And as long as Fox continues to spread disinformation, we have a lot of work to do.